Hello, this is Jerry Morton. Welcome to the second season of my podcast series titled Finding My Way, a memoir by Jerry Morton. This is podcast number 63, titled Unexpected Frustrations. Podcast 63, Unexpected Frustrations, relates my continuing search for a position in the civilian world in preparation for leaving the Army in June 1969. The search now includes explorations with a corporation and a school system. Podcast 63, Unexpected Frustrations. While my wife and I were drafting a diplomatic letter to a university informing the psychology department that I would not be sending an application to enter their doctoral program, I received two interesting calls. The first call came from the corporate representative who had treated me to so many meals at the psychological conference in New Orleans. He hoped I was still interested in the position. He explained that he had spoken to the corporate vice president and several of the vice presidents in charge of various departments about me. They were interested in meeting me and discussing the position further. I explained that I was interested, but could not afford to fly from Fort Bragg to Houston or pay any of the other major expenses. He apologized for not making it clear that the corporation would reimburse me for all of my expenses. All I needed to do was to present them with the invoices, and they would promptly issue a check. With that hurdle covered, I agreed to fly to Houston. It took a couple of weeks to make all of the arrangements and set a firm meeting date. In the middle of the arrangement process, I got a call from the PhD psychologist representing the Pinellas County, Florida school system. He was pleased to offer me a school psychology position. I would be paid $9,000 for a 10-month year with the opportunity to earn extra pay in the summer. I asked for some time to discuss it with my wife and consider some other things that were taking place in my life. He agreed to give me a few weeks to consider his offer. After that time, he could not guarantee that the position would remain open. He had to fill the position before August and had several other qualified applicants wanting the job. Naturally, I thanked him for his consideration and assured him that I would try to make a decision as quickly as circumstances allowed. The plane trip to Houston found me full of questions about the position that the corporation wanted me to fill. Over the phone, I had learned that there were actually two positions they were thinking I might fit. One was to be a psychology person at the corporate level, providing insights in more effectively managing the thousands of workers they employed in their worldwide operations. The other position was less clear to me. It seemed to be related to what I thought about things they were thinking about. I had trouble understanding that. Over the phone, I had made it clear to the corporate recruiter that I had no expertise concerning the line of work the corporation conducted, nor did I know much about the corporation's international activities. The recruiter thought my comments were funny and assured me that that was a plus, rather than a hindrance for the two positions they had in mind. He said my life experiences were what was important. The stories I had shared about working on the dredge boat in the summers during college, the time I spent in Racine County, Wisconsin as an adolescent, and the Army training stories, as well as the many experiences I had working with people and performing my duties at the Psychological Warfare School, made it clear that I was a prime candidate for what they were looking for. Wow, I thought. This guy had learned a lot about me during all those meals we had together, as well as that long tour of New Orleans he had given me. I did ask him what the salary might be for any position they might offer me. He said that the salary was yet to be determined. He assured me that I would be pleased with what was offered. Throughout our discussions, I had repeatedly stated that my goal had always been to be of assistance to people. I wanted to help children in particular. I knew very little about the business world and nothing about his corporation. The recruiter had been understanding as he pointed out that giving people good-paying jobs, outstanding health insurance, and a healthy retirement package while providing the public with critical supplies and services was also a fine way of helping people. His point of view had merit. The corporate headquarters were in one of the tallest buildings in downtown Houston. The entire building contained offices for the corporation, as far as I could tell. The recruiter took me to the second from the top floor of the building. I was introduced to the senior vice president of the corporation, the vice president of the U.S. operations, and the vice president for the corporation's Southeast Asia operations. I met other vice presidents of various parts of the corporation, but there were so many of them that I couldn't keep it all straight in my mind. The first interview was with the senior corporate vice president. His offices had a bank of large windows on 2 walls, providing a stunning view of downtown Houston. Since it was one of the tallest buildings in the downtown complex, and his office was in one of the top floors, I could see for miles. One set of windows faced me as I sat in front of his desk. The view was something I had never seen before. It was hard to focus on the vice president instead of the view. The first question he asked me caught me off guard. "Why are you interested in our corporation?" Without thinking, my words spilled out. "I'm not particularly interested. Joe, your representative, contacted me at the Southeastern Psychological Association's conference in New Orleans about a month ago. He said the corporation might have a position for me. I've never fully understood what the position might be. I became more and more interested in what Joe was suggesting I might be doing if you employed me. I'm still trying to understand what's taking place. I think Joe just got interested in my experiences with people and in the Army and all. Gosh, that's a beautiful view," I concluded, nodding my head to the window behind the desk. The senior vice president asked about what I did in the Army. I was a psychological instructor in the Psychological Warfare School at the Special Warfare Center. Again, I commented on the wonderful view from his windows. He wanted to know what kind of classes I taught and who were my students. I knew not to talk about anything that was classified or might be classified. The focus of my lessons, I explained, was in assisting Special Forces officers, military advisors, psychological warfare operations officers, and others to understand the indigenous personnel they would be working with so that they could engage the local populations in assisting them accomplish their military missions. I explained how I developed the Southeast Asian Cultural Assimilator so that the PSYOP Center could more quickly acquaint those going to that area with a working understanding of the cultural norms they would encounter. In my explanation, I also mentioned providing consultation to the base's educational consultant to reduce the number of traffic accidents our soldiers were having. When I finished with all of that, I again commented about the spectacular view. This comment prompted the senior vice president to abruptly stand, walk quickly to the windows behind, and close the blinds. I knew that I had irritated the man. What could I do? It was an outstanding vista. After a few more verbal exchanges, he said it was time for me to meet some of the divisional vice presidents. Joe was waiting for me when I left the senior vice president's office. My next appointment was with the vice president of the Southeast Asia operations. He was a grandfatherly type man. As it turned out, we shared some of the same opinions concerning various issues in several of those countries. I had learned a great deal about the cultural issues from working with several Allied officers in the development of the Southeast Asian cultural assimilator. I found myself seeking his advice as to what was going on with the corporation, the position they were thinking I might fit, and why they thought I might fit it. He explained that the CEO of the organization wanted to create a team of future-thinking individuals who had a wide variety of experiences outside of the corporate structure to kind of brainstorm issues the corporation was facing or might face in the future. No one was sure what qualifications the members of the team would or should have. So all of the vice presidents I was meeting with weren't sure how I would function in the group if I were selected, or what qualifications I should have to be considered for a position in the group. We were all in the process of discovery. He went on to explain how the corporation functioned in the United States. He was particularly proud of the low turnover rate of the corporation's employees. At the present time, he noted, the corporation had a disagreement with Congress over tax relief measures to the corporation it was failing to provide. The strategies the corporation was employing to assist Congress to understand the error of its ways appeared to me to have a reasonable chance of success. Toward the end of the interview, the vice president did express the opinion that he hoped I got offered the position. He thought I would be a real addition to the project and asked how the interview with the corporation's senior vice president went. I told him about the beautiful windows comments I had made, which prompted the senior vice president to close all the blinds behind him. My interviewer broke into laughter. The senior vice president seemed to be pressing me to state how much I wanted to be paid, I shared with my confidant. I had avoided addressing the issue directly in that interview. I asked this gentleman what was a reasonable amount to ask for. Without hesitation, he said I should ask for a starting salary of at least $15,000 a year, with all of the benefits provided to those in high-level corporate positions. That's what I did every time the topic came up during the rest of the day. When all of the interviews were over, Joe told me that he would call me in a few days to tell me what everyone had decided. He said I had done well in the interviews. He thought he would be able to make me an offer before too long. Anna and I had long discussions concerning what I should do if they offered me a position. Up to this point, I had always thought I would work in a school system or for a non-profit organization helping people. The big question was I selling out to big business? Was I simply going for the money? Working as a brainstormer, trying to find solutions to issues never thought about before, was exciting. There was an argument to be made for the value of corporations taking care of their employees while providing a needed product to the world. assisting developing countries improve the lives of their people, and on went our thoughts. In the end, we decided that if they made an offer, provided a job description that fit what I thought the position was about, and it all paid well, we would tell them we would consider their offer and call them back. In about a week, Joe called. He said he could offer me the position. I was to be a member of their strategic planning group. The position would start at any time I wanted it to start after getting out of the Army. The starting salary would be for $15,000 a year for the first 6 months. I could expect a raise after the first 6 months. I would have their corporate health insurance and participate in their retirement plan. Joe said that everyone that had interviewed me felt I would make valuable contributions to the strategic planning group and the corporation's preparedness for the future. He hoped I would accept the position. I told him that I was excited about the position, but needed to discuss the particulars with my wife. Could I call him back tomorrow? He said he understood. He would look forward to my call. The next day I called Joe and accepted the position. It was a relief to have an exciting position to go to as soon as I got out of the Army. Now, I needed to call the director of the school psychology program at Miami University of Ohio and thank him for keeping an internship position open for me, and explain that I decided to accept a position in industry. I also needed to let the director of psychological services for the Pinellas County school system know that I was accepting a position with another organization. Neither of those calls went well. The guy at Miami University was not pleased, explaining that he had invested a lot of energy in keeping that position open for me. He had reserved a highly coveted internship with the Hamilton County school system just for me. He was disappointed that I would not be taking it. The director of psychological services for Pinellas County Schools simply thanked me for letting him know and hung up. It was an abrupt thank you with no follow-up comments. Well, that was that, I thought. I continued to hope the Army was going to allow me to leave active duty in the middle of June. It wasn't until the first week of June that the director of the Psychological Warfare School informed me that I could begin processing my discharge papers. That meant that I had approximately 2 weeks to complete a process that others usually started a full month or two before their exit date. It also meant that I did not have to appear on the platform to teach my military classes, except for a few. A normal instructional day had me presenting to one military group or another at least 4 hours a day on multiple topics. I think I had the heaviest instructional load of any of the other instructors. But I'm not sure about that, as I never had the time to pursue issues like that. I was really busy every day.